This is my 9th visit since October 7th to Israel, to the Middle East. And this is a decisive moment, probably the best, maybe the last opportunity to get the hostages home, to get a ceasefire, and to put everyone on a better path to enduring peace and security. I'm here as part of an intensive diplomatic effort on President Biden's instructions to try to get this agreement to the line and ultimately over the line. It is time for it to get done.
Is the United States trying to quench the flames of fire of war in the Middle East, or are we fanning them? Or what might possibly be worse, are we just being dragged along like an unwilling partner into the conflagration and then being asked after the fact to actually provide the ammunition and the weapons and the fuel for that fire of war? I think you know where this is going. If you've been watching our channel for any amount of time, you know that almost certainly the latter is the case, and that's going to be the situation again here today. And I'm going to point to you and explain to you why. There was a headline in Newsweek here a couple of days ago, which just really has me irked, and it's just more exasperation than anything else. As you can see, I'm actually still on the vacation. I'm on the way home now. I'm actually in the airport in Munich, Germany. Not too much longer, we'll be boarding a plane and getting one step closer to home. But again, these things are just going on, and I feel a need to share with you what's going on, keep you informed, and so you know the truth. When you see headlines that are popping out there, that you're aware of what's actually going on. The Palestinian death toll continues to climb, continues to go up. It has never stopped. And one of the reporters at the State Department press briefing last Thursday asked a question and said, hey, when will this ever stop? Watch this exchange.
Now we have at least 10 to 1 Palestinians that have died. When will enough be enough? Because I know you say, one more, we don't want to see it, but the fact of the matter is that you've been saying this since last December. And we have killing every single day. Every single day, no 24-hour goes by without killing at least 36, 40, 50 Palestinians, most of them children. So, when will enough be enough?
What we are exactly focusing on is trying to have a resolution that would allow the fighting to stop. That's why we have time and time again, and again just a moment ago, I said that the best thing for the parties to do to minimize impact on all, including the Palestinian civilians, is to accept and finalize a ceasefire deal, one that is encompassing of the hostages being returned, an influx of humanitarian aid, and broader diplomacy to happen for the region to get out of this endless cycle of violence.
This endless cycle of violence. Now, if you just listen to that comment, if all you heard was his quote there, you would think that the United States is doing all it can diplomatically to bring an end to this war and to try to bring diplomacy into it so people can talk things out and not have to worry about relying on this endless cycle of violence that he talks about there. But what is the truth of it? Now, as I'm talking, or as I'm recording this is actually on Sunday. Secretary of State Blinken is in Israel right now, allegedly trying to do that very thing, trying to talk about ceasefires, negotiated settlement. But that is coming on the heels of the likely Iranian response to what happened on, I think it was the 31st of July, when Israel assassinated a Hamas leader, this chief negotiator for the Palestinian side. When you hear Patel there, or any other State Department official, or anyone else in the West or Israel saying that they're looking for a negotiated settlement, the truth is what happens on the ground. And when you, as Israel, assassinate the chief negotiator for the other side, very unlikely that that's going to lead to any kind of negotiated settlement. In fact, it's almost certain to guarantee the opposite. And so now then, since that time, we've been waiting for an Iranian response. Iran has promised that there's going to be one. It's reasonable to assume that anyone who's had someone assassinated in their capital city during a presidential inauguration, on top of the many others that have been assassinated recently, that Iran is going to do something in response now. Iran's already had their embassy compound in Damascus destroyed earlier this year. They took a measured response, according to all parties here. And now then we're waiting to see what they're going to do now. So while we're saying that we, meaning the West and Israel, are seeking to negotiate settlement, you see the evidence on the ground screams the opposite, that we're not doing that. Well, now then, a couple of days ago, I think I mentioned to you a second ago, in the Newsweek, there was an article that came out that said, Israel officials say Iran war inevitable and the U.S. should strike now. So an Israeli diplomat has told Newsweek that a large-scale confrontation with Iran was, quote, guaranteed to come, and called upon U.S. President Joe Biden to take direct action against the Islamic Republic sooner rather than later. It's inevitable, Fleur Hassan Naum, a special envoy to Israel Foreign Ministry, told Newsweek in reference to the looming possibility of a war with Iran as regional tensions threaten to boil over into serious escalation. Now, look, it doesn't take a rocket science to figure this out. Israel is doing everything it can to get a war, and it wants to drag the United States into it. Folks, I'm just going to tell it to you like it is. The evidence is overwhelming and irrefutable. I don't care what words are coming out of State Department official spokesmen or what words are coming out of Israeli leaders. The facts and evidence on the ground scream that the opposite is the case. They are trying to start a war to drag our country into it. And now you see they're actively lobbying in public, and you know behind the scenes they're doing the same, to try to get the United States to go into war with them. Now, almost certainly the Biden administration does not want to go to war with Iran, certainly 3 or so months away from a presidential election that they want to win. We shouldn't want it at any time, but just even taking the morality out of it, just their self-interest, they don't want one. Iran certainly doesn't want a war with the United States to get into a war. They want to be, they want to have influence in their region, and they don't want to be bullied around, but they don't want an actual war. But if they're cornered into it, and if they're shoved into it to where their choices are either allow a foreign power to continue to attack and destroy their senior leaders at will with no retaliation, or take action and possibly get into a war, I promise you that at some point they're going to go on the latter route. And this is absolutely avoidable. It does not need to happen. There is no need to get into a war. The United States should absolutely avoid this at all costs. And when I say avoid it, that what I'm saying is what President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris, who's trying to replace him, what they should unequivocally do is to go into a private meeting with Netanyahu or send one of our representatives and say, we're done with you. If you take any more provocative action that draws yourself into a war with Iran, you will be on your own, and then say so publicly. Now, I know you're saying no one's ever going to do that, and you're probably right. I'm telling you what should happen. I'm telling you, if we had actual leaders, if we had men and women of courage that does care about the United States first and foremost, that does care about the Palestinian people, that does care about the Israeli people, if you do what you actually say with your mouth, that's the action you would take. But when I hear those words coming out of your mouth, but then I see your actions leading to the exact opposite contradiction, what is any reasonable person left to conclude? Is that you want war, or that you're too weak of a leader to stop it, and then somehow you're just trying to just run the clock out so that maybe nothing happens between now and the election, and then we'll figure it out later. There's certainly some plausible course of action there too. We'll have to see how that works out. But listen, that clip I played at the first there about Saeed, the reporter, that he's saying when is enough, because the biggest bill payers so far have been the Palestinian people. Now that could be expanded into the Lebanese people as well, who also don't want a war. But they've been saying it. Of course, Lebanon and Hezbollah have been firing rockets into Israel ever since shortly after October the 7th. That's been going back and forth, and it's been threatening to roll into an all-out war. You have reports that the Israelis have ordered a new round of evacuations from that area. It's saying more Israelis to come out, implying that they're getting ready to have a war there, and they know that there's going to be lots of firing back and forth. So everywhere you want to look, actions suggest that Israel is getting ready to launch a preemptive war, and they want the United States to do their dirty work for them. I'm 100% out on that. I care a great deal about the Israeli people. I care a great deal about the Palestinian people, and I care even more, I'm ashamed to say it, about the American people and about the American servicemen and women who signed up to serve our country and defend our country, not to be used as a foreign military for some other government. That we didn't sign up for that. Why is it okay for all of our politicians, for so many of our so-called experts that go on foreign policy and television all the time, to so eagerly advocate the use of the U.S. military to do the work for Israel? Because it's not as though, and it is being characterized this way, it's not as though that all these states are just bullying up on Israel for no good reason, and man, we got to go help them because they're just this little flower that's going to be wilted if we don't go in and help them. There's no truth to that whatsoever. None. It's the opposite. Who attacked and destroyed an embassy in another country? Who keeps assassinating people in the capital city of multiple countries? At least 3 in the Middle East by Israel. They've assassinated people in their country, and one of which was us. We did the same. We assassinated one of the leaders in Baghdad, too, our alleged ally. So our hands are definitely not clean in this. But folks, all these things are going on that keep being acts of war. If any of those things I just mentioned were done against us, our people would be screaming for war within 24 hours. Somebody who's going to have to pay. So I don't know why anyone thinks that the other side would be different. And in fact, I think that actually is the truth. No one of these people that I'm talking about do think it's going to be the opposite. They want this to spawn a war. The evidence is overwhelmingly clear. Again, I could care less if they sound with umbrage, if they say they are shocked and their feelings are hurt because of this insinuation. It's not an insinuation. It's a black and white assessment of the reality of your actions. So you can feign crocodile tears all day long. I don't care. All I care about is I don't want to get our country sucked into a war. I don't want to see any more Palestinians die for no reason. I don't want to see any Israeli people die in a war that should never be fought, or Lebanese people, or Iranian people, or anybody else in the region who might get sucked into this. A war is catastrophic, and it could be terrible for everybody. The people who are trying to provoke this war think they can keep it contained to the United States and Iran. That's a gamble, because it could well expand beyond that. It could include Russia. Russia could get involved and help Iran out in ways that we won't like. It may not just be Iran. That thing could spread lateral as well. As I've talked about before, you could also have Turkey. Turkey has been making a lot of ominous claims. Don't know if they're going to act on it or if it's just bluster. But it is possible, and we are gambling with the future if we think that everything in all of these cases will all work out for our side. That's a very, very dangerous thing to do, and especially when you realize that there is no value in this. There's not even a possible good outcome. The idea that the U.S. and Israel can go to war against Iran, destroy Iran, eliminate that threat, and then everything is going to be fine and good and the worst is going to be fine is just a fantasy of the highest order. It is fantasy. There is no possibility of that outcome happening. The most likely is that the fire spreads everywhere, it gets out of control, and ends up burning us. That's what the most likely course of outcome is. So right now, our Secretary of State is actually in Israel. One wonders if he's actually there on a diplomatic mission or if he's trying to give authority for them to take this military action. We have no idea. Of course, we can't trust a word that comes out of their mouth because we know from so many instances in the past, they say one thing and then we know something else was going on behind the scenes. So it's unclear what's going to happen with that. But I'm just telling you, don't be confused by anything you hear. Don't be bamboozled by some of the lies that you're told, and that they're looking for a negotiated settlement, that they hate it that the Palestinian people are being killed. There's no truth. They may not like, some of them may genuinely not like some of the Palestinian children are dying, but I could care less whether their heartstrings are pulled when they take no action to stop it, when it's in their power to do so and they don't stop it. So it's the same as not caring, because the net result is the same for the Palestinian people who keep getting killed and are trapped in this fence where 2 million people are. And God only knows what the actual number of people killed has been. But we know that their ability to live has been wiped out and destroyed. And they are literally living hand to mouth at whatever food can get in there. And we know the horrible situations with all of that. And it's time for all this to end. But I just pray to God. And one of the reasons I keep making videos like this is so enough people can get this out there and you can realize that there is no need for a war. And if anyone lies to you and say that this is something that was foisted upon us, they're lying, and they're possibly going to draw, especially those of you who have service members, United States service members, they could be getting your family members killed. You saw me the other day talking about Lindsey Graham and how he was so eager to get other people's kids killed in a war against Russia in Ukraine. It's the same situation here. These people don't care about us. And again, I don't care what words they say. You look at their actions, and their actions confirm they don't care about us. They don't care about our people. They don't care about whether we get drawn into a war and fight it for them. I don't know what their actual motivations are. All I see is the results of it, and it is horrific and it is unnecessary. And it is time for us to start doing something about it, even if it's just sending in a letter to your representatives. If it's tagging these people with this show, tagging some of the people in the mainstream media and say, here's the truth, start telling it. Do something, though. Share this on your social media networks, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all those things. Other ones there, the Telegram, anything. Let's get this stuff out there, folks, and at least make it hard on them to keep lying and getting us drawn closer into a war. thanks. Appreciate you guys watching here. Again, I'm about to get on a plane here shortly, and we'll be back in the studio with Gary on Tuesday, and just get ready to jump into whatever's going on there. You can count on Daniel Davis Deep Dive, because we are unintimidated and uncompromised to bring you the truth of what's going on.